Welcome to Thalira Tales, where stories bloom in silence, carrying emotion, mystery, and hidden truth. Step in and let the tale unfold.
5 years of lies and the truth left behind. My husband left for a 6-year infrastructure project in Nigeria. I stayed behind to guard our home alone. After working late one night, I accidentally bumped into his former colleague, who looked at me in shock and said, "Mike?" He came back to the States 5 years ago. I resolutely put a plan into motion. That night, the husband who reappeared after 5 years completely crumbled. At 2:00 a.m., I finally shut down my computer. My head was splitting from working 3 consecutive late nights. It had been 6 years since Mike Davis left, and I had grown used to this rhythm. Filling every waking hour with work meant less time to think about him. Tonight, an issue with our project launch required emergency fixes that kept me at the office until now. Only a few tech team members and I were left in the building. Dragging my exhausted body, I stepped into the elevator and pressed the lobby button. Suddenly, it hit me today was our wedding anniversary. 7 years, I muttered under my breath, subconsciously touching the ring on my left hand. The elevator doors opened on the 12th floor, and a man in a gray suit stepped in. I stepped aside, keeping my head down. Jessica? Jessica Parker? Startled, I looked up. Under the bright elevator lights, I recognized James Miller, Mike's colleague from the Africa deployment. I had met him exactly once, 3 years ago, when he briefly returned to New York for a project briefing and I attended as Mike's wife. "James, you're working late too," I forced a smile. Just finished a video conference. The time difference with Nigeria is brutal," James sighed. "Looks like you're pulling a late one too. If Mike knew you were working this hard, it would break his heart." My heart sank at the mention of his name. "How is he doing these days? We haven't been able to video call in over 2 months. He said the project is in a critical phase and the cell reception in the rural areas is terrible." James's expression suddenly froze. The elevator reached the lobby, and the doors opened, but he made no move to step out. "Is something wrong?" I asked. "Jessica." James hesitated, avoiding my eyes. "Do you really not know?" "Know what?" Taking a deep breath, James took a step closer and lowered his voice. "Mike came back to the States 5 years ago." Time stopped. Instinctively, I threw my hand out to block the closing elevator doors. "What? What are you talking about?" "The African Aid Construction Project ended 5 years ago." James's voice grew urgent. "I remember it clearly because we flew back to JFK together. He even told me he was going to head straight home to surprise you." I leaned against the cold metal wall of the elevator, my legs giving out. "That's impossible. We video call, and he sends me his GPS location every week. Those things are incredibly easy to fake," James said, his voice dropping further. "I really shouldn't be saying this, but it's been bothering me for years that you still thought he was in Africa. I saw him in Tribeca last year. He was with some woman. I called out to him, but he pretended not to hear me and just kept walking." The blood drained from my face. The elevator started moving again, heading down to the parking garage. "Are you sure? You didn't mistake him for someone else? We worked together for 3 years. How could I not recognize him?" James pulled out his phone. "I even took a picture. I was going to send it to you right away, but I thought it wasn't my place." On the screen, a familiar profile of a man was wrapping his arm around a young woman's shoulders, walking into a high-end restaurant. The jacket he was wearing was the one I had mailed to him in Africa for his birthday last year. In that moment, my entire world collapsed. "Thank you for telling me." My voice was shockingly calm, as if I were discussing a stranger. "Jessica, are you okay? What are you going to do? If you need help." "No, I'm fine." I shook my head and pulled out my phone. "Could you text me that picture?" "Of course." The photo buzzed into my phone. Zooming in, there was no denying it was him. What devastated me even more was the timestamp on the photo. 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Mike told me he was exploring a remote region in the African bush where the signal was so bad he couldn't contact me for 2 straight weeks. The doors opened to the parking garage. I should get going. "James, really? Thank you for tonight. Are you sure you're okay?" Do you want me to drive you? I'm fine. I turned and walked toward my car. To my own surprise, my steps were steady. It wasn't until I sat in the driver's seat and locked the doors that my body began to shake uncontrollably. 6 years. A full 6 years. I had stayed alone in this city, guarding our home, keeping a promise that didn't even exist. I dug through our text history. Just last week, he had sent me a picture of an African sunset, writing, "When I get back, I'm taking you here so you can see a real sunset." Liar. Tears of absolute fury burst forth. It wasn't out of sadness. I wiped my tears and started the engine. I didn't go to our house. Instead, I drove to a small studio condo in Hoboken we had bought before getting married. We originally planned to rent it out, but it had remained vacant, and I only occasionally went there to clean. On the drive, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to a private investigator, Mr. Smith. I sent him the photo and asked him to dig up everything he could, as fast as possible. The second was to my best friend, Sarah. "Sarah, I need to borrow your legal expertise, and I need a good divorce lawyer." The third was to my tech lead at work. "I have a family emergency and need to take a week off immediately. I've handed over all project launch materials." Once everything was set, I took a deep breath. Why did Mike do this? Where and how had he been making a living for the past 5 years? There had been no major withdrawals from our joint account. Suddenly, I remembered something from 3 years ago. Mike had asked me to open a joint credit card under my name, saying it would be easier to use the project's extra stipends that way. I received the statements every month, but it was just minor living expenses, so I never suspected a thing. Looking back, it was just another prop to maintain the illusion that he was overseas. Arriving at the condo, I booted up my laptop and logged into our bank accounts. The joint credit card hadn't been used in 3 months. Strange. Last week, he said he bought local artisan crafts and shipped them to me. I looked up the FedEx tracking number. The origin location wasn't Nigeria, it was a fulfillment center in Brooklyn. More and more puzzle pieces were snapping into place, pointing to a cold, hard truth. My husband, the man I had loved for 10 years, had been deceiving me for 5. By 4:00 a.m. My mind was clear, and I wrote down an action plan. 1. Gather all evidence, bank statements, fake shipping labels, etc. 2. Locate Mike's actual residence and trace his life over the past 5 years. 3. Assess the status of our marital assets. 4. Execute the plan. At dawn, the initial report from P.I. Smith arrived in my inbox. The woman in the photo is Chloe Bennett, 27, works at an interior design firm, co-owns a luxury condo at the Pinnacle in Tribeca with Mike Davis. More details will follow this afternoon. The Pinnacle in Tribeca. Condos there went for well over $2 million. I let out a cold laugh. Mike was living the high life. At 8:00 a.m., I put on makeup, changed into my sharpest business suit, and drove my BMW to the Pinnacle. The doorman stopped me. "I'm here to see Mike Davis in 18B. I'm his older sister." I smiled warmly, handing over a box of expensive chocolates I had just bought. I wanted to surprise my little brother today. The doorman looked at the chocolates, then at my BMW, a car registered in my name that Mike had bought before he supposedly left the country. "One moment, ma'am. Let me call up." My heart pounded. If Mike answered, my cover was blown. But the doorman hung up the receiver. No answer. He must still be sleeping. "Would you like to wait in the lobby?" "No, that's okay. I'll just leave this gift here. Please give it to him when he comes down." I maintained a perfect smile. Could I get a visitor pass, though? For next time. Pass in hand. I left the building. But I didn't go far. I parked near a coffee shop across the street and waited. At 10:47 a.m., a familiar figure emerged from the building's entrance. Mike. He was holding hands with a young woman. They were laughing and chatting, and the woman was carrying a Whole Foods grocery bag. They looked like they were just returning from a morning errand run. My fingernails dug so deeply into my palms they almost drew blood. Seeing him for the first time in 5 years, he looked younger. He was wearing designer casual wear I had never seen, and his hair was stylishly styled. Meanwhile, The years of loneliness and overwork had left fine lines around my eyes. They disappeared into the building. I started the car. There were no tears, no screams. Instead, a cold, calculated resolve blossomed in my chest. Did you think I'd be the abandoned wife crying and begging? Mike, you're wrong. I'm going to make you pay for these 5 years of deception in ways you can't even imagine. And step 1 begins tonight. Checking my phone, the full PI report had arrived. Mike and Chloe had been dating for 4 years and bought the condo 2 years ago. Down payment, $1 million. Mortgage, $1 million. Mike was currently working as a project manager at Henderson Construction, making around $150,000 a year. Interestingly, his marital status on his HR forms was listed as divorced. Even more ironic, the CEO of Henderson Construction was the father of my old college roommate. I dialed a number I hadn't called in 9 years. Mr. Henderson? It's Jessica. Jessica Parker. Jessica, it's been ages. Yes, I have a huge favor to ask you. After leaving Tribeca, I went straight to a law firm in Midtown. Sarah was waiting for me in the lobby. Dressed in a sharp suit, she rushed over as soon as I walked in. Jess, are you really going to do this? Without even giving him a chance to explain? Sarah grabbed my hand, her eyes full of concern. 5 years, Sarah. He lied to me for 5 years. My voice was terrifyingly calm. During those 5 years, I deposited my money into our joint account every month because he said he needed an emergency fund for the poor conditions in Africa. When my parents were hospitalized, he said the project was too busy for him to visit. Now I know. It wasn't that he couldn't come. He just didn't want to. Sarah sighed and put her arm around my shoulders. Let's go. Attorney Hayes is waiting. Robert Hayes was a top-tier divorce and asset dispute attorney Sarah had recommended. In his office, he meticulously reviewed the documents I brought. Jessica, based on the information provided, Mike's actions constitute severe marital fraud and dissipation of marital assets. Hayes pushed up his glasses. However, legally proving that he intentionally faked his whereabouts for 5 years might be tricky, since you two maintained constant communication. But all that communication was fabricated. I handed over my phone. The GPS locations were spoofed. The photos were downloaded from the internet. Even his video call backgrounds were virtual. I checked last night. He was using professional chroma key software. Attorney Hayes nodded. That is crucial. We will need a tech expert to verify that. Regarding assets, you have the joint account, but the majority of your liquid assets are under your name. Before he left, he transferred most of the management to you, claiming it was easier. I smiled bitterly. Ironic, isn't it? That actually works in my favor now. What about the Tribeca apartment? It's co-owned by him and that woman. I showed him the PI's report. A $1 million down payment. We've never had a withdrawal that large from our accounts. Then he either made the money elsewhere, Sarah chimed in, or his parents gave it to him. Mike's family was pretty well off. They moved to Canada 3 years ago and basically cut contact. I rubbed my temples. During those 5 years, he always made excuses, so I wouldn't visit his parents during the holidays. Attorney Hayes took notes. We need to trace the source of those funds. If he used money earned during the marriage to pay for it, you have a claim to a percentage of that property, even if your name isn't on the deed. I don't just want the house, I said coldly. I want him to pay. I understand your feelings, Jessica, but the law is objective, Hayes said gently. Your biggest advantage right now is that Mike doesn't know you've discovered the truth. We have ample time to gather evidence and build an airtight strategy. The strategy is already set. I sat up straight. Tonight, I'm going to make him reveal himself. Sarah and Attorney Hayes stared at me. Today is our wedding anniversary. Traditionally, he sends a message or initiates a video call. I showed them my past logs. Every year, he says, I'm sorry I can't be with you again. Tonight, I'm breaking the tradition. I'm going to give him the impression that I might know something, but without confirming it. I'll make him so paranoid he'll walk right into his own trap. I looked at Attorney Hayes. From a legal standpoint, if his paranoia leads him to start moving assets or admitting to bizarre behavior, how does that affect the case? It makes our lawsuit significantly stronger, especially if you pursue claims for emotional distress and marital waste. Hayes's eyes gleamed. Do you have a specific plan? I nodded and pulled a printed sheet from my bag. 30 minutes later, I walked out of the law firm holding initial legal drafts prepared by Attorney Hayes. Sarah walked me to my car. Jess, can you really handle this alone? Do you want me to stay with you tonight? No, I have to do this alone. I squeezed her hand. Thank you, Sarah. When this is over, I'm buying the best bottle of wine in the city, the most expensive one. You bet you are. Sarah tried to sound upbeat. On my way back to Hoboken, CEO Henderson called. Jessica, I looked into it. Mike Davis has been with us for 3 years. He's a top performer, promoted to PM last year. Mr. Henderson sounded uncomfortable, but his HR file says he's divorced. There's no mention of you anywhere on his resume. I understand. Thank you for letting me know, Mr. Henderson. I kept my voice steady. I have one more favor. Could you make sure he doesn't find out I'm looking into this? Of course. Jessica, if you need anything, let me know. I never would have imagined. Hanging up, I pulled over to the side of the road. Finally, the tears fell. Not for myself, but for the decade of my youth that was gone, and for the girl who once believed love was everything. I wiped my face, touched up my makeup, and drove on. Back at the studio, I spent an hour organizing the evidence. Chat logs, spoofed locations, fake shipping labels, bank statements. I categorized, scanned, and backed everything up to a secure cloud drive. At 3:00 p.m., I booted up my laptop and logged into an old email account I hadn't used in years. It was the account we used when we first started dating, holding our early love letters and photos. I selected a few iconic pictures: our college campus, our first road trip, our wedding day, and began to write. Mike, today is our 7th anniversary. When we got married, you promised to stay by my side in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer. I cried so hard that day, thinking I was the luckiest woman in the world. For the past 6 years, I've lived alone, worked alone, and managed our home alone. My friends say I'm strong, but only I know how empty it feels to wake up in the middle of the night and touch the cold pillow beside me. Looking at these old photos last week, I realized something terrifying. I can't remember your face clearly anymore. Not your looks, but the way your eyes crinkled when you laughed, or how you used to tap the desk when you were thinking. How long has it been since we had a real conversation? Every time we video call, you rush to hang up, blaming the bad signal. Your gifts are always just Amazon packages without a single handwritten note. Mike, I keep having these weird dreams lately. Dreams where you actually returned a long time ago, but you're hiding from me. When I wake up, I laugh at myself. How could you ever do that to me? But last night, working late at the office, I ran into James Miller. He said some very strange things that made me incredibly anxious. When I showed him your picture, he said you look different from how he remembered. Of course you'd look different. It's been years. People change. Just promise me one thing. Next time we video call, can you show me the room you're in? Just show me where you live. Even if it's just through a screen, I want to feel like I'm part of your life. Forever yours, Jessica. I read it over 3 times. I nailed the tone, the perfect mix of longing, slight suspicion, but no concrete proof. Enough to make him sweat, but not enough to make him bolt. I clicked send. Now, the waiting game. Calculating the time difference. If Mike were truly in Nigeria, it would be 9:00 p.m. But he was in New York, where it was 3:00 p.m. He usually checked his personal email around his afternoon coffee break. I forced myself to lie down and rest. Tonight was going to be a long night. At 7:00 p.m., my phone rang. It was Mike. I took a deep breath and answered, "Hey, Mike." "Jess, I just saw your email." His voice was tense. The background was dead silent. "Why are you suddenly saying all this? What exactly did James say to you?" "Oh, it's probably nothing." I purposely made my voice sound exhausted. "I've just been so tired lately. My mind is playing tricks on me." "Were you busy today?" Yeah, just wrapped up a project site visit." "But?" He paused. "Jess, don't overthink things. I'm doing fine here. It's just been crazy busy. Once this phase is over, I'll take leave and come home." Yeah, I replied softly. Can we do a video call right now? I miss you. Silence hung heavy on the other end. Now isn't a good time. I'm outside and the reception is terrible. Outside? It's 1:00 a.m. in Nigeria right now. And it sounds perfectly quiet where you are. Oh, I'm indoors. At a colleague's place, having a drink. He was noticeably stumbling over his words. Jess, seriously, what's going on? Did you hear some weird rumor? Rumor? I echoed. What kind of rumor? Silence again. I'm just worried about you. You don't sound well. Mike tried to lighten the mood. Are you working too hard? Take care of yourself. I will. I stared out at the dark New Jersey skyline. Mike, if you're hiding something from me, tell me now. I can forgive you. What are you talking about? Of course I'm not hiding anything. His answer was too fast, too defensive. My heart plummeted. Even now, pushed into a corner, he chose to lie. All right then, I said quietly. I'm really tired, so I'm going to let you go. Happy anniversary. Wait, Jess, I hung up. A few minutes later, a text came through. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you for our anniversary again. I'll make it up to you when I get back. I love you. I stared at the message, feeling a sudden wave of nausea. How many times had he fed me these exact words over the past 5 years? And like an idiot, I had believed him every single time. By 9:00 p.m., I changed into dark clothes and packed a small backpack with a power bank, a mini camcorder, a digital voice recorder, and a few legal documents from Attorney Hayes. I drove into Manhattan and parked near the Pinnacle in Tribeca, taking a window seat in the cafe across the street. At 10:15 p.m., I saw Mike hurrying out of the building. He looked around nervously before hailing a yellow cab. I immediately ran to my car and tailed him. The taxi wove through the city before pulling up in front of a quiet, old-school diner in Queens. Mike got out, checked his surroundings again, and went inside. I parked around the corner and pulled out my camcorder. Through the diner window, I could see Mike sitting across from a middle-aged man, both looking extremely serious. I recognized the man. It was Mike's cousin, Kevin, who worked as a commercial banker. I zoomed in. Spread across the table were what looked like real estate deeds and life insurance policies. I recorded everything. My heart was racing. Why was Mike meeting his banker cousin in the middle of the night with property and insurance documents? The conversation lasted about 30 minutes. As Kevin left, he patted Mike's shoulder with a grim expression. Mike sat alone in the booth for a long time, his head in his hands. I waited patiently. Finally, he got up, paid, and left. But he didn't head back to Tribeca. I followed him at a safe distance. 15 minutes later, he arrived at an older residential neighborhood in Flushing. I recognized the house. It was the home his parents owned before they emigrated to Canada. It looked like it hadn't been sold yet. Mike stood on the sidewalk for a long time, looking up at a dark window. He pulled out a cigarette and lit it. It was the first time I had ever seen him smoke. Finishing the cigarette, he pulled out his phone, hesitating. Finally, he dialed. Almost simultaneously, my phone rang. Mike flashed on the screen. I didn't answer immediately. On the 7th ring, I swiped accept, making my voice sound groggy. Hello? Mike? Why are you calling so late? Jess, were you sleeping? His voice was hoarse. Just laid down. Is everything okay? No. I just wanted to hear your voice. He paused. Jess, if I ever did something wrong to you, could you forgive me? Here we go. He was finally testing the waters. Depends on what it is, I said quietly. What did you do, Mike? Heavy breathing was the only sound from the other end. Nothing, just thinking out loud. I know I've neglected you these past few years. He deflected the question. Listen, you mentioned wanting a new car last time. I've saved up some money. Do you want me to wire it to you? No. My car runs fine, I replied calmly. Keep your money. Buy some good vitamins. I know the conditions over there are rough. Jess? He suddenly choked back a sob. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry for what? For everything. For not being there. For making you carry everything alone. His voice cracked. Sometimes I think, if you had married someone else, you would have been happier. Don't say that. I gripped the steering wheel. I've never regretted choosing you. Those words used to be my absolute truth. Now, they were just a bitter irony. You're too good, Jess. You're too kind. He wept quietly. Go to sleep. I have some paperwork to finish up here. Okay. Don't work too hard. Hanging up, I watched through the windshield as Mike collapsed onto the curb, his shoulders shaking as he cried. For a split second, my resolve almost wavered, but remembering the endless lonely nights and tear-soaked pillows of the past 5 years, my heart turned back to stone. Mike cried for about 5 minutes before standing up, wiping his face and smoothing his clothes. Reverting back to his composed self, he hailed a cab. This time, the destination was Tribeca. I didn't follow. I had enough for one night. Back at the condo, it was already 1:00 a.m. I backed up all the evidence to my cloud and external hard drives. Then, I made my move. I opened my laptop and booked a 3:00 p.m. flight to Portland, Maine for the next day. I emailed my boss, extending my PTO to 2 weeks. Next, I texted Mike. Mike, I'm flying out to a work conference in Maine for about a week starting tomorrow. Cell service might be spotty, so don't worry if you can't reach me. Take care of yourself. Message sent. I immediately powered off my phone, removed the SIM card, and swapped it for a prepaid burner SIM I had bought. Looking out at the city skyline, the city where we once dreamt of our future, I felt nothing but the residue of lies and betrayal. But that was okay. The game had just begun. At 7:00 a.m., my eyes snapped open. 5 years of living alone had given me a terrifyingly accurate internal clock. Sunlight pierced through the blinds. My flight was at 3:00 p.m., plenty of time to disappear. I kept my main phone off. Using the burner, I texted Sarah, going off-grid for a week. Old number deactivated. Burner number is strictly confidential. She replied instantly, got it. P.I. Smith sent new intel. I'll forward it to the secure email. Stay safe. I booted up the laptop and logged into the secure, encrypted email account Sarah and P.I. Smith had set up. The report was waiting. Mike Davis. 5-year background report employment. Hired by Henderson Construction 3 months after returning to the U.S. Promoted to PM after 2 years. Salary progression. $90K is greater than $110K is greater than $150K plus project bonuses. Tribeca property, purchased 2 years ago, total $2M, $1M down, $1M mortgage. Source of down payment, $500K from Mike's savings, salary, bonuses. The other $500K wired from an account belonging to Robert Bennett, *** Robert Bennett, retired structural engineer, father of Chloe Bennett, *** Chloe Bennett, 27, interior designer, salary to $75K. Met Mike 4 years ago on a joint corporate project. They have lived together for 3 years, introducing themselves to neighbors as a married couple. Chloe's Instagram features numerous photos with Mike, tagging him as her hubby. Mike's parents emigrated to Canada 3 years ago. Mike wires them $1,200 monthly. Other took out a $500K life insurance policy 1 year ago. Beneficiary Chloe Bennett purchased an $80K Tesla registered in his name, driven by Chloe. No other hidden assets or debts found. The joint account with Jessica Parker has seen only minor withdrawals. Almost all deposited funds remain untouched. I stared at the screen, processing every detail. Chloe's father paid half the down payment. Did her family know Mike was married? If they did, they were accomplices. If they didn't, Chloe was a victim too. But either way, it didn't change Mike's betrayal. Scrolling down, I saw the attached photos. Mike and Chloe grocery shopping, dining at upscale restaurants, walking hand in hand. Every photo felt like a knife to the chest, but I forced myself to look at them all. I paused at the last photo. Chloe had a visible baby bump. Mike's hand was resting gently on her stomach. They were smiling at each other. Pregnant. I slammed the laptop shut. I stood by the window, breathing heavily. For 6 years, I had begged him for a child, and he always said, "Wait until I'm back from Africa." What a sick, cruel excuse. My phone buzzed. It was a scanned file from Attorney Hayes. He had drafted the initial divorce and asset division petition based on my evidence. A text followed. Jessica, the evidence is rock solid. His actions constitute clear at-fault grounds in states that consider marital waste, giving you massive leverage for asset division. However, I advise attempting an uncontested settlement before formally filing. It saves time and emotional drain. Ultimately, it's your call, I replied. Understood. But I have things to do first. Let him sweat. Hayes, be careful. Do not do anything that jeopardizes your legal standing. Me, I won't. Thank you. I packed a small suitcase. A few clothes, my laptop, essential documents, and one sealed Ziploc bag. Inside was our marriage certificate, a few photos, and the letter he wrote the day he left. Wait for me for 6 years, Jess. When I get back, we'll never be apart again. I took out the letter, read it one last time, slowly tore it into tiny pieces, and dropped it into the trash can. At 9:00 a.m., I went to the bank. Our joint account had around $300,000 in savings, mostly the money I had painstakingly saved over 6 years. I withdrew $50,000 in cash and wired the rest to a brand new individual account in my name. The teller, a friendly older woman, asked, "Taking out a lot of cash today, honey? Doing some home renovations?" "Yes," I smiled. "We've been married a long time. Time to change the scenery." "Oh, how wonderful. Your husband must be thrilled." "I hope so." My smile remained fixed, but my heart was pure ice. After leaving the bank, I stopped by Attorney Hayes' office, signed a few authorizations, and formally handed over my power of attorney. "If I don't contact you within a week, proceed with the lawsuit as planned." "Where are you going?" Hayes asked. "Are you in a safe place?" "Don't worry. I just need time and space to think." I didn't give him my itinerary. At noon, back at the condo, I sent one last text to Mike using the burner phone. "Mr. Davis, this is Attorney Robert Hayes, representing Jessica Parker. Miss Parker has stepped away for urgent personal matters and has entrusted me with her legal affairs. Miss Parker wishes to discuss the terms of your divorce. You have 3 days to contact my office. If we do not hear from you, we will immediately initiate formal legal proceedings." As soon as the message delivered, I pulled out the burner SIM and snapped it in half. At 2:00 p.m., I arrived at Newark Airport. Before boarding, I used a payphone to call Sarah. "I'm heading out. You won't be able to reach me until next week. Don't worry. Jess, are you sure you're okay doing this alone? I need to completely detach from this environment to figure out my next steps." I looked at the planes on the tarmac. "I'll be fine. All right. Just text me once a day to let me know you're alive. Use our code." Got it. Our old dorm room number. Love you, Sarah. Love you too. Hanging up, I let go of the last string tying me to my past. The boarding announcement echoed through the terminal. I dragged my suitcase toward the gate, not looking back. As the plane took off, I looked down at the shrinking city skyline. This place used to hold all my dreams with Mike. Now, only the wreckage of lies and betrayal remained. I tried to close my eyes and sleep, but my thoughts were racing. If he came back 5 years ago, why lie? Just because he fell for someone else? Or was there another reason? Last night's meeting with his cousin, the property deeds, the insurance papers, it all gnawed at me. A deep sense of unease bubbled up. "Would you like something to drink, ma'am?" The flight attendant's gentle voice snapped me back. "Just water, please." "Thank you." Taking the cup, a question popped into my head. How would Mike react to the lawyer's text? Panic? Anger? Relief? Probably all three. But regardless, I had only given him 3 days. After that, the lawsuit drops. The plane broke through the clouds into blinding sunlight. I pulled down the shade and opened a book, trying to calm my mind, but the words just danced on the page. "Excuse me." The middle-aged woman sitting next to me spoke softly. You look quite pale. Are you all right? I realized I had been shivering. Oh, just a bit cold. I'm fine. Here, take this. She pulled a soft cashmere shawl from her tote bag. Wrap yourself up. People have to look out for each other when traveling. She smiled warmly. I'm heading to Maine to visit my daughter. She works in Portland. Are you traveling for fun? Yes. Just needed a change of scenery. That's lovely. Have a wonderful time. The Maine coast is beautiful. Looking at the ocean just heals the soul. She patted my hand. Whatever is weighing on your mind, the ocean will wash it away. I nodded, offering a grateful smile. Sometimes, the kindness of strangers feels warmer than the comfort of people you know. After a few hours, the plane touched down at Portland International Jetport. The crisp, salty air hit me instantly, a stark contrast to the stuffy city I left behind. I hadn't booked a standard hotel. Instead, I chose a secluded bed and breakfast near a quiet coastal town up Route 1. The B&B owner was a hearty, welcoming woman. When I told her I came alone to clear my head, she specially gave me the room with the best view of the Atlantic. If something's eating at you, sweetie, just yell it out to the sea. Tell the ocean everything, she said, handing me a brass key. Dinner's ready downstairs whenever you're hungry. The room was pristine. Through the large bay windows, the deep blue ocean stretched out endlessly. I dropped my bags and stepped out onto the balcony. The crashing waves sounded like a whispered secret. I turned on my new burner phone. One text from Sarah. You land? I replied, arrived safe. Room 307. For the next 3 days, I did the most relaxing things I could think of. I changed into a wetsuit and plunged into the frigid Maine waters. I swam out far past the break line. Floating on my back, looking up at the vast sky, my problems suddenly felt incredibly small. Mike's betrayal, 5 years of waiting, Chloe's existence, the unborn child in this moment, none of it mattered. I stayed in the water until my fingers were completely pruned. When I walked back up the beach, the B&B owner was waiting with a thick towel. Don't stay out there too long. The cold gets into your bones, she scolded gently, handing me the towel. Come with me. I want to show you something. I followed her to the backyard. There was a small garden and a few wild blueberry bushes. She picked a handful of plump berries, rinsed them under a spigot, and handed them to me. Try these. Grown right here. Sweet as candy. They burst with tart, sweet juice. They're amazing. Do you run this place all by yourself? My husband passed away the year before last. Heart attack? She said matter-of-factly, picking more berries. At first, it felt like the sky had fallen. But the living have to keep living, right? Look at these bushes. Just because he's gone doesn't mean they stop growing. People have to be the same. Put down your own roots and bloom on your own. I ate the blueberries in silence. Something hard inside my chest began to melt. Get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow, I'm taking you somewhere special, she winked. Where? Secret. Let's eat first. I made New England clam chowder from scratch. At dinner, I met the other guests. A young couple, a solo photographer named Vince, and a young mother with her toddler. We sat around a large oak table, sharing food and stories. Vince showed us photos from his trip to Tibet. The mother talked about the chaos of traveling with a kid. The couple was planning a kayaking trip. No one asked about my past or why I was alone. At this table, we were just strangers sharing a meal. I felt an unprecedented sense of peace. Back in my room after dinner, I booted up my laptop. After hesitating, I logged into that old email account. As expected, there were dozens of unread emails. All from Mike. He had been sending one almost every hour since last night. 11:00 p.m. Jess. What the hell is that text from the lawyer? You want a divorce? Why? Let's talk. Please. 2:00 a.m. Pick up the phone. I'm begging you. We can talk through this. We can fix anything. 4:00 a.m. Where are you? I'll come to you. Don't do this to me, Jess. I love you. 7:00 a.m. I messed up. Give me a chance to explain. Please. The latest, 30 minutes ago. Jess, I went to your office. They said you took PTO. Where are you? I'm going crazy with worry. Answer the phone or at least tell me you're safe. Every email was drenched in panic and begging. The old me might have caved. But the current me felt like I was watching a bad actor in a play. I logged out without replying or opening any others. Taking a shower, I looked at myself in the mirror. 35 years old. Fine lines around my eyes, skin slightly dull from endless late-night corporate grinds, but my eyes were clear. Over the past 6 years, I hadn't withered in my loneliness. Instead, I had found my worth in my career and learned how to solve life's problems entirely on my own. Mike probably thought I was still that dependent little woman who would wait endlessly and forgive him no matter what. He was dead wrong. I dried off and put on my pajamas. Just as I was about to get into bed, my burner phone buzzed. It was an unknown New York number. Hesitating, I answered. Hello? Jess? Is it you? It's Mike. His voice came through the speaker, raspy and frantic. I finally got through. I begged Sarah for this number for hours. I gripped the phone tightly, saying nothing. Jess, please say something. I know you're furious. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. But please, let's talk in person. Just tell me where you are. I'll fly out right now. There's no need for that, I finally spoke. My voice was surprisingly calm. My lawyer will handle communication. No. Please don't do this, Jess. I love you. I swear to God I love you. Those 5 years. I had my reasons. I can explain. What reasons? What possible reason makes you pretend to be in Africa for 5 years? What reason makes you live with another woman, buy a multi-million-dollar condo with her and get her pregnant? My voice started to tremble not from sorrow but from absolute rage. Dead silence on the other end. How? How do you know all that? His voice was barely a whisper. That doesn't matter. What matters is that our marriage ended the second you decided to lie to me, Mike. Right now, we're just going through the legal paperwork. No, it's not over. Jess, listen to me. I'll explain. When I came back, I was sick. I had a severe illness. I didn't want to be a burden to you. Stop. I cut him off. Every word out of your mouth is sickening. Jess, please, just one more chance. One last chance. You had 5 years worth of chances, I said coldly. Every single day, you had the chance to tell the truth. You didn't. Mike, I don't hate you, but I will never, ever forgive you. Money, the house, anything you want, I'll give it to you. Just come back. We can start over. What I want is my freedom, I said. The freedom to divorce you. Without waiting for a response, I hung up and blocked the number. As the screen went dark, the only sound in the room was the crashing waves. I walked to the window. The moonlight scattered across the ocean like shattered silver. Faint music drifted in from down the beach, a bonfire party. Laughter caught the wind. I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Something heavy that had been crushing my chest finally released. Was Mike broken? Probably. Had he made a fool of himself? Highly likely. But none of that was my concern anymore. I tried to sleep, but my mind was restless. Mike's voice echoed in my ears, his desperate pleading. In 10 years together, I had never heard him sound like that. He had always been composed, confident, the person I looked up to. The sudden role reversal felt alien. No, not alien. It put me on high alert. I knew Mike too well. He was not a man who admitted defeat easily. This desperate begging meant he was definitely scheming something behind the scenes. By 1:00 a.m., I still couldn't sleep. I checked my secure email. There were new messages from P.I. Smith, sent 2 hours ago. Jessica, urgent update. Mike Davis visited a law firm this afternoon. Not Attorney Hayes's firm, but a smaller, aggressive litigation firm in Lower Manhattan known for playing dirty in asset disputes. He was in there for 90 minutes and left looking grim. Also, Chloe Bennett visited a private OB/GYN clinic this morning. She was there for 3 hours, didn't go to work, and went straight home. At the Tribeca apartment, Chloe's parents arrived shortly after Mike returned from his lawyer. They stayed for 2 hours, leaving looking furious. Lastly, Mike visited his cousin Kevin's house tonight and hasn't left. We are maintaining surveillance. Analysis. Mike is gearing up for a brutal legal fight. Chloe's family is getting involved. Be highly vigilant. I stared at the screen, processing. Mike wasn't taking this lying down. He was seeking legal counsel, maybe even planning a preemptive strike. And Chloe's parents were in the mix. That explained the $500,000 down payment. Did her parents know Mike was married? If they did, they were complicit. If not, how did Chloe introduce him? But the bigger issue was Chloe being at the clinic for 3 hours. A routine checkup doesn't take 3 hours. Did she? I shook my head. I didn't want to think about it. Chloe and her unborn child were innocent in my eyes. I didn't want to drag them into this war. But if her parents funded the fraud knowingly, it was a different story. The waves outside grew louder. A storm was rolling in, clouds blocking the moon. Distant thunder rumbled. I replied to P.I. Smith, "Keep monitoring, especially watch if Mike tries to liquidate or hide any assets. I will authorize additional funding. Can you run a background check on Chloe's parents?" I sent the email and lay back down. Rain began to lash against the glass. The storm was coming, and not just the weather. The next morning, I woke up to bright sunlight. The storm had passed, leaving the sky scrubbed clean. The B&B owner was already bustling in the kitchen, the smell of freshly baked blueberry muffins and coffee filling the house. "Sleep well?" She handed me a glass of fresh orange juice as I came downstairs. "Yes." "You mentioned you were taking me somewhere today?" "Yup, right after breakfast." She winked mysteriously. "You're gonna love it." After breakfast, we piled into her beat-up Ford pickup and drove down a winding coastal road. About 30 minutes later, we arrived at a secluded, rustic fishing village. A few weathered shacks and lobster boats bobbed in the harbor. There were no tourists here. "Grew up here," she said, cutting the engine. "Spent my whole childhood running around these docks. Come on." I followed her past the village down to a rugged, rocky shoreline. Violent waves slammed against the black granite, sending up massive plumes of white spray. "I come here when I'm upset," she said, sitting on a flat rock and patting the spot next to her. "Scream at the ocean. The waves will just swallow it all up." I sat beside her. Facing the sheer power of the Atlantic, my problems really did feel insignificant. "Were you angry at your husband when he died?" I didn't know why I asked. Maybe I was looking for an answer from her. "Angry?" She thought for a moment. "At first, yeah. Angry that he didn't take better care of himself. Angry that he left me all alone. But then I realized being angry wasn't going to bring him back. It was just making me more miserable." "So you forgave him?" "Nothing to forgive, really. Living and dying, that's up to God. It wasn't in his control." She looked out at the horizon. "The important thing is the people left behind gotta keep living. Look at these rocks. They get pounded by the ocean millions of times a day, but they hold their ground. We gotta be like that." We sat in silence for a long time. The only sound was the roaring sea. "You've got a lot weighing on your heart. I can see it," she said suddenly. "I don't know what it is. But take it from an old woman. Don't waste your tears on people who aren't worth them. Save your love for the folks who appreciate it." My eyes welled up with tears. The greatest takeaway from this trip wasn't the scenery, it was this wise woman. "Thank you." "Oh, hush. Let's go get some fresh seafood." My brother just pulled in his traps this morning. Back at the village, her brother had set up a simple feast on a picnic table, freshly steamed lobsters, clams, and corn. Simple, but incredible. Mid-meal, the owner answered her cell phone. Her face dropped. She hung up, hesitating before looking at me. "Honey, I gotta tell you something, though I don't know if I should. Please, tell me." "A guy showed up at the B&B this morning, claimed to be your husband. I told him I was out, and he asked where you went. I played dumb." She frowned, but the guy gave me the creeps. He didn't look worried like a husband should. He looked like he was hunting you. So I didn't tell him a damn thing. Mike found me. Already? My heart dropped. What did he look like? About 6 foot, slim, wore glasses, blue button-down shirt, driving a fancy black Mercedes. It was definitely Mike. He had tracked me all the way to Maine, Straight to my B&B. Did he say anything else? Said it was a family emergency. Showed me a wedding picture on his phone. She looked at me with deep concern. Are you in trouble, honey? Do you need me to call the sheriff? No, thank you. I'll handle it. I forced myself to stay calm. Could you do me a huge favor? If he comes back, tell him I checked out and you have no idea where I went. Done. But what are you gonna do? I thought for a second. I think I need to move somewhere else. I can't bring this trouble to your business. Nonsense. She waved her hand. If you don't mind roughing it, you can stay here at my brother's place. The spare room is empty. It's quiet. Everyone in the village knows everyone, so a stranger in a Mercedes will stick out like a sore thumb. I looked at her brother, a rugged, quiet lobsterman. He nodded. You can stay. On the house. Consider it a favor for a friend. I can't ask you to do that, it's settled. Finish eating and I'll drive back and pack your bags for you. If that guy is still snooping around, you shouldn't be anywhere near there. After lunch, we drove back cautiously. She made me wait in the truck, parked down the road while she scouted the B&B. Minutes later, she jogged back, looking stressed. He's still there, parked across the street at the diner, watching the entrance. We gotta slip through the back door, grab your stuff, and get out. We snuck around the back through the kitchen door. My room was on the second floor. She made me wait at the bottom of the stairs while she packed my suitcase. The wait felt like hours. Every creak of the floorboards made me terrified Mike was about to bust through the door. If he found me, what would he do? Scream at me in public? Try to drag me into his car? No, Mike cared too much about his image. He would never lose his cool in public. But I was still terrified. The fact that he found me this fast meant he was deploying serious resources. How did he know I was in Maine? Flight records? A top-tier PI? Got it. Let's move, she whispered, hauling my suitcase down the stairs. We slipped out the back, jumped into the truck, and sped off. I didn't exhale until we were miles down the highway. Thank you. Really. Don't mention it. Just go to my brother's, lock the door, and rest. The fishing village was slow and peaceful. The brothers' house was rustic but spotless, with windows looking straight out over the harbor. I unpacked and sent the code text to Sarah. 307 safe. Moved locations. Minutes later, she replied, Watch your back. Mike hired a shady PI firm. PI Smith says they're tracking you. Probably pulled your airline manifest. Change your burner, change your accounts. Mike was fully committed to this war. I thought for a moment, then emailed Attorney Hayes, giving a brief update and telling him to expedite the legal filings. If Mike was already making moves, I couldn't afford to be passive. By evening, the B&B owner dropped off groceries, toiletries, and a cheap prepaid flip phone with a new SIM card. This'll be safer to use. My brother's taking the boat out early tomorrow. Want to go with him? Nobody can track you in the middle of the ocean. That sounds perfect. After she left, I watched the sunset turn the harbor into a sea of liquid gold. Night fell quickly over the village. By 7:00 p.m., it was pitch black outside. Without city light pollution, the stars were violently bright. My new flip phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Jess, I know you're seeing this. Let's talk, just once. I waited all day at your B&B. Just tell me you're safe. Mike. How did he get this number? I had just activated it. His PI must have used some illegal cell tower spoofing or data brokering. I didn't reply. I just powered it off. I opened my laptop and started organizing every shred of evidence to send to Attorney Hayes. If this was a war, I needed all my ammunition ready. Late that night, as the village slept and the waves crashed against the docks, my laptop pinged. An email from PI Smith. Jessica, emergency update. Mike attempted to report your joint credit card stolen at the bank today to freeze your access, but failed because he needed your physical ID or power of attorney. However, he is looking for other avenues to lock up your cash. Also, Chloe's parents met with a real estate attorney today. They are likely trying to secure their $500,000 equity in the Tribeca condo, which will complicate your asset division. Most critical. A highly suspicious wire transfer occurred today, facilitated by Mike's cousin Kevin at the commercial bank. $50,000 was moved from Mike's personal account to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, under a shell company named JM Investment Ltd. We are tracing the ultimate destination. I strongly advise your attorney to file an emergency injunction to freeze all marital assets immediately to prevent further dissipation. Also, maintain strict personal security. He has located your general vicinity. I sat bolt upright. I was wide awake. Mike was moving faster and dirtier than I expected. I immediately called Attorney Hayes, regardless of the late hour. He answered, and I updated him. He agreed to file an emergency ex parte motion to freeze all assets first thing in the morning, warning me that Mike might try to saddle me with fraudulent joint debt. Jessica, Mike is preparing for total war in court, Hayes warned. You should come back to New York as soon as possible. There are documents that require your physical signature. Give me 2 more days. I need to get my head straight. All right. But stay safe. If his PI is that good, your exact location is compromised. Hanging up, I looked out at the dark harbor. The village was tranquil, but I could feel the hurricane bearing down on me. The next morning, I went out on the lobster boat with the owner's brother. The small vessel rocked heavily in the Atlantic swells, but I felt strangely calm. Far away from the noise of the mainland, there was only the sky and the sea. Hold on tight, miss. Pulling up the traps, the brother yelled over the diesel engine. I held the rail, watching him haul up cages filled with snapping lobsters and silver fish. The sun beat down on the water. My burner flip phone rang. An unknown New York number. I hesitated, then answered. Is this Jessica Parker? A slick male voice asked. Who is this? I'm attorney Richard Vance, representing Mike Davis. I'm calling on his behalf to discuss an amicable resolution to your marital disputes. I gripped the phone tightly. Go ahead. Mike is willing to make significant concessions in the asset division. However, he has one condition. You must immediately drop any intent to litigate, and you must sign a strict non-disclosure agreement preventing you from discussing his personal life with anyone, especially Chloe Bennett and his employer. I almost laughed out loud. Even now, Mike was trying to control the narrative, prioritizing his corporate reputation and his mistress's feelings over everything else. And if I refuse? Then Mike will have no choice but to use legal avenues to prove that you were also at fault during the marriage, including allegations of prolonged marital abandonment and failure to fulfill spousal duties. This could severely impact the judge's decision on asset division. Tell him I'll see him in court, I said coldly. Miss Parker, I urge you to reconsider. Litigation is emotionally and financially draining, especially for a woman who values her reputation. Mr. Vance, let me give you some advice. I cut him off. Tell Mike that if he tries to extort or threaten me one more time, I will publicly release every piece of evidence I have. The fake African deployment records, the cohabitation evidence with Chloe, and the proof of her pregnancy. Tell him to calculate who has more to lose. And one more thing. If he or his associates harass me or my family again, I will file for a restraining order and press charges for stalking. I am not bluffing. I hung up and powered down the phone. The boat rocked gently. The fisherman was humming an old shanty, oblivious to the high-stakes legal warfare happening on his deck. The sun was warm, the breeze fresh. Everything felt peaceful, but I knew this was the calm before the storm. Mike's intimidation tactic had failed. What would his next move be? Violence? Compromise? Staring out at the endless Atlantic, I made my decision. It was time to go home. Running away wouldn't solve anything. Whatever Mike had planned, I had to face it head-on. Not for revenge, but for myself. To put a final period on the last 10 years of my life. Heading back soon? I yelled to the captain. "IU. Almost done." He smiled, turning the wheel. On the boat ride back, I drafted my counterattack in my notebook. 1. Asset freeze. Hayes is handling it. The $50K Cayman transfer, MUST, be traced. 2. Evidence verification. Get it forensic experts to authenticate the spoofed GPS data and emails to prove premeditated fraud. 3. Witnesses. James Miller's testimony is crucial. He's the only third party who can confirm Mike's return 5 years ago. 4. Psychological armor. Do not fall for Mike's gaslighting, threats, or pity plays. "We're here, miss!" The boat bumped against the wooden pier. The B&B owner was waiting for me, looking relieved. "You're back. That guy came looking for you again. Brought another man and a woman this time. Claimed they were his cousins. Kevin and his wife. They were moving fast. What did they say? Asked if you were here. I said you went out on a boat. That woman kept trying to peek into the windows. I chased him off the property." She lowered her voice. "They're up to no good. You want to move further up the coast?" "No." I shook my head. "I'm going back to New York." "Back there?" "Yes. I have to face the music." I smiled, handing her an envelope with cash for the lodging and her incredible kindness. That afternoon, I booked the earliest flight out of Portland. Waiting at the gate, I turned on the burner phone. Dozens of missed calls and texts flooded in from Mike and his lawyer. The most recent text was from an hour ago. "Jess, I know you're avoiding me. Let's talk like adults. I'll agree to all your terms. Just come back. All your terms." "Yeah, right." As the plane took off, watching the rugged Maine coastline fade away, I felt recharged. This brief escape gave me the strength to fight. It was time to go home. I landed at JFK at 8:00 p.m. The moment I turned my phone on, a text from Sarah popped up. "Where are you?" Mike went insane. "He showed up at your parents' house." My blood ran cold. My parents lived in the suburbs in Westchester. They were elderly, and my dad had a heart condition. "How dare he?" I called Sarah immediately. "What happened?" "He showed up at 4:00 p.m. with his cousin Kevin. Tried to play the victim. He told them you ran away because of work stress. And he was there to bring you home so you could get psychiatric help." Sarah sounded breathless. "Your mom called me, and I drove straight over. Mike was putting on the performance of a lifetime, crying about how worried he was about your mental health. Your dad's blood pressure spiked, but luckily I got him his meds in time." When I called Mike out in front of them and told them he'd been lying about Africa for 5 years, his face dropped. He tried to backtrack, but I literally shoved him out the front door. I gripped my phone. "Thank you, Sarah. Where are my parents?" "They're at my place in the city. Don't worry. Come straight here." I grabbed a cab to Sarah's Upper West Side apartment. Arriving past 10:00 p.m., my mother's eyes were swollen from crying. She hugged me tightly. "My poor girl, what you've been through." My father sat on the couch, his face stone cold. He took a deep breath. "That bastard. How dare he?" Sarah handed me a glass of water and filled in the blanks. When Mike's lies were exposed, he dropped the Concerned Husband Act and threatened that if I pushed for divorce, he'd take half of everything, including my parents' house in Westchester, which my name was technically on. "That house was left to me by your grandfather." My mother wiped her tears. "It has nothing to do with him. He can dream on." My dad clenched his fists. "I'll die before I let him take a dime." Seeing my elderly parents suffering because of me filled me with immense guilt. For 5 years, I had assured them Mike was just working hard in Africa. Now, I realized my blind trust had hurt the people I loved most. "Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry." I knelt in front of them. "I'll fix this. I promise you, Mike won't get his way." We talked until dawn. My parents wanted to hire their own lawyers to help, but I refused. This was my war. The next morning, I went straight to Attorney Hayes' office. "Good to see you, Jessica. The situation has escalated," Hayes said grimly. "Mike's attorney sent over a settlement offer this morning." I scanned the document. Mike agreed to an uncontested divorce, but demanded 70% of our liquid assets and the title to my BMW. In exchange, he would graciously waive his right to sue for marital abandonment. He's delusional. I tossed the papers on the desk. "I agree," Hayes nodded. "But this shows he's panicking. He's terrified of the evidence you've accumulated. Our lawsuit is drafted. I'm filing it with the New York Supreme Court today. Also, I traced that $50,000 transfer. It went to a shell corporation in the Cayman Islands called JM Investment Ltd. Where did he even get that kind of money? That's the million-dollar question." Hayes adjusted his glasses. I subpoenaed his bank records. Aside from his Henderson construction payroll, There are several massive, unexplained cash deposits over the last 5 years, totaling close to $400,000. 40,000 yuan. Even at his peak salary, juggling a Tribeca mortgage and Chloe's lifestyle, how did he amass that? Did he have a side business? Or siphon it from our accounts? Tracing it will take time. If it's tied to illicit activity, we may need to involve law enforcement. Hayes looked at me. Jessica, one more thing. If we can prove in court that he hid or dissipated marital assets, the judge can award you an unequal distribution of the remaining estate, or even award you damages out of his share. But we need concrete proof of where that money came from. Then we find it. Leaving the law firm, I went to the bank and pulled 5 years of statements from our joint accounts. Scrutinizing the records, I found the anomaly. Every month, there was a steady withdrawal ranging from $5,000 to $10,000, marked as project material advances. The total over 5 years was nearly $300,000. Mike had explained this years ago. He had to front cash for local materials in Africa, and his company would reimburse him later. But looking closely, the reimbursements were never deposited back into our joint account. I took photos of the logs and sent them to Hayes. Then, I made a decision. I was going to Henderson Construction. The Henderson Group's Manhattan headquarters were imposing. At the reception desk, I asked for Mike Davis. The receptionist smiled politely. Mr. Davis is currently in a project meeting. Do you have an appointment? No, but I'm his wife. The receptionist's smile faltered. Clearly, rumors of his divorce status were well known here. Let me call up to his floor. Minutes later, Mike practically sprinted out of the elevator. He looked pale. He grabbed my arm and pulled me toward a secluded seating area. Jess, what are you doing here? Just came to see where my husband works. I looked him up and down. Looks like you've been doing very well. Let's go outside. People are looking. Why? I raised my voice slightly. I'm your legal wife. Is it a crime to visit my husband's office? A few passing employees glanced our way. Mike looked panicked. Jess, please don't do this. Let's go to a coffee shop. To talk about what? About how you faked being in Africa for 5 years? Or about your Tribeca penthouse with Chloe? Or maybe about the baby she's carrying? Mike's panic morphed into pure horror. How? How do you know about that? How do I know? I laughed coldly. Mike, I'm giving you 2 choices. 1. We divide the assets fairly, and we sign an uncontested divorce today. 2. I see you in court, and I publicly release every single piece of evidence I have. I'll submit it to HR here, to CEO Henderson, to everyone. Are you blackmailing me? I'm giving you options. I stared him down. The naive Jessica who waited for you is dead. The last 5 years taught me a very important lesson. If you're going to be a good person, you need to grow some teeth. Mike stared at me. His eyes were a mix of anger, fear, and profound unfamiliarity. You've changed. Yeah, well, you made me this way. I turned to leave. Wait, he grabbed my arm. If I agree to your terms, will you really keep my secret? Depends on your sincerity. Fine, he gritted his teeth. We'll redo the asset division. But keep Chloe out of this. She's innocent. Even now, he was protecting her. Innocent? I shook off his hand. She lived with a married man knowing he had a wife. How is she innocent? You're pathetic, Mike. I walked out of the building without looking back. Stepping through the revolving doors, the Manhattan sun blinded me. I took a deep breath. For the first time, I felt truly liberated. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Jessica, it's Chloe Bennett. Could we please talk? About Mike. Please. How she got my number? I had no idea. I stared at the text, hesitating. Finally, I typed back a time and a cafe near Central Park for the next afternoon. It was time to meet the innocent Chloe Bennett. The next day, I arrived at the cafe 30 minutes early, taking a corner booth. I ordered a black coffee and waited. I wondered what Chloe's story was. Did she know he was married? If so, why stay? If not, how would she react to the truth? At exactly 3:00 p.m., a young woman in a beige maternity dress walked in. She looked around nervously. When I raised my hand, she hesitated before approaching. She looked even younger than her photos, maybe 25 or 26. The pregnancy was obvious. She sat across from me, instinctively protecting her stomach. Jessica. Her voice was tiny. Do you want to order something? No. I'm fine. She bit her lip. Thank you for meeting me. Let's get straight to it. What do you want? Chloe took a deep breath. I want to apologize first. I only found out last week that Mike is still legally married to you. He told me he'd been divorced for years. I swear to God, I only found out last week. I raised an eyebrow. How long have you two been together? 3 years. We met on a collaborative project. He said his ex-wife moved overseas after a messy split due to personality differences. I believed him. So you knew your dad paid $500,000 toward the down payment on the Tribeca condo? Chloe flinched, her face draining of color. How did you find out about that? Your dad wired the money, I said firmly. She sat in silence before nodding slowly. Yes. When we bought the place last year, Mike said he was short on liquid cash. My dad really liked Mike, so he offered it as a sort of early wedding gift. Did you know that for the past 5 years, Mike has been telling me he was stationed on a remote infrastructure project in Nigeria? He told me he traveled a lot for international projects. Chloe's voice shrank. But I had no idea he was lying to you. Chloe, how far along are you? 5 months? She rubbed her belly. Congratulations, I said, stating a fact without malice. But legally, you know this child will be born out of wedlock, right? And if the court determines that Mike's extreme marital misconduct caused the end of our marriage, he's going to lose a massive portion of his assets in the divorce. That's going to affect your lifestyle. Chloe grew even paler. I don't care about the money. I just want my baby. But Mike cares. I cut her off. His job, his status, your condo, everything is built on a foundation of lies. When the truth comes out, how much do you think he'll be able to keep? Why are you telling me all this? Chloe's voice shook. I'm telling you that you're a victim too. I softened my tone slightly. Mike lied to me for 5 years, and he lied to you for 3. The difference is, I know the truth now, and you're still lying to yourself. I'm not. Really? I looked her dead in the eye. A successful mid-30s executive claims he's been divorced for years, has no kids, his entire family conveniently lives in Canada, and he disappears for days on international trips. Did you never once think that was suspicious? Chloe looked away, wringing her hands. He hated when I visited his office. Said it was unprofessional. I barely met any of his friends. He said he was an introvert. His phone was always locked, and he took it into the shower with him. When I asked, he said it was because he handled strict corporate trade secrets. She choked back a sob. So what are you gonna do? I don't know. Chloe looked up, tears in her eyes. I love him. And I'm carrying his child. Love doesn't pay the bills, especially a love built on fraud. I pulled a thick stack of printed logs from my bag and pushed them across the table. This is the communication log between Mike and me over the last 5 years. Look at the timestamps. Every weekend, every holiday. He was texting me while sitting right next to you. Chloe flipped through the pages with trembling hands. Her face hardened. Finally, she covered her mouth, looking like she was going to be sick. If you need more proof, I have it, I said. But my advice to you is to make a plan for yourself and your baby as soon as possible. Mike is not a man you can trust your life with. Why? Why are you helping me? Chloe wiped her tears. You should hate me. I did hate you, I admitted. But hate doesn't solve anything. Your unborn child is innocent. They shouldn't suffer because of their father's sins. Chloe was silent for a long time. The jazz music playing in the cafe felt surreal. I'm going to leave him, she finally said. But I need time to secure things for the baby and myself. Smart choice, I nodded. If you need legal advice, I can recommend a good lawyer. No. I'll handle it. Chloe stood up. Jessica, I'm so sorry for the pain I unknowingly caused you, and thank you for telling me the truth. Take care of yourself. She nodded and walked out. Her silhouette looked fragile and unsteady. I watched her go. My emotions, a tangled mess. She was the other woman, but she was also a victim. Mike's lies had destroyed 2 women's lives. My phone buzzed. A text from Attorney Hayes. Lawsuit officially filed with the court. Mike will be served within 3 days. Also, I have a massive update on the financial front. Let's meet at my office in an hour. I paid the bill and stepped out of the cafe. Standing right outside the door was a familiar figure. Mike. He had been waiting for me. His face was rigid with anger. "What did you say to Chloe?" he demanded, his voice low and furious. "The truth," I replied calmly. "You had no right. What right do you have to interfere in my life? To tell her those things? The right of your legal wife? I didn't back down an inch. I had a right to know why you lied to me for 5 years. And Chloe has a right to know what kind of monster the man she loves really is. You ruined everything," Mike hissed. "She told me she's getting an abortion and leaving me. Are you happy now?" I was momentarily stunned. I didn't expect Chloe to make such a drastic decision so quickly. But that was her choice. It wasn't my place to judge. "If she decided that, it's your fault, not mine," I said. "You always blame everyone else, Mike. Have you ever looked in the mirror? What's there to look at? You think the last 5 years were easy for me? I lived in pure terror every single day that you'd find out. Then why didn't you just tell the truth?" I raised my voice without meaning to. "When you got back 5 years ago, why didn't you come home? Why lie?" Mike froze. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "It was because of Chloe, wasn't it?" I answered for him. "You met her on the project. You came back, found out she was pregnant. Or maybe you just loved her more, so you decided to sacrifice me. To sacrifice our 10 years together." "It wasn't like that," he tried to deflect, but his eyes darted away. "Then what was it? Tell me, Mike." I deserve to know what I waited 5 years for. Passersby were starting to stare. Mike, ever conscious of his image, shrank back. "Let's go somewhere quiet." "Not here." "Where? The Tribeca penthouse? Or our home in Hoboken, the one you haven't set foot in for 5 years? Jess? Please." His voice cracked with genuine pleading. "Let's talk. Properly. I was wrong. I'll do whatever you want. Please forgive me. It's too late." I took a step back. "You'll be served with the lawsuit soon. See you in court." "Are you really going to be this cruel?" "You're the cruel one, Mike." I looked at the man I had loved for a decade. He felt like a complete stranger. "When you chose to deceive me 5 years ago, you should have known this day would come." I ignored him calling my name and walked away. 2 blocks down, I ducked into a bookstore and watched through the window. Mike didn't follow. He just stood there on the sidewalk, head bowed like a broken statue. My phone buzzed again. "Unknown number," I answered cautiously. "Jessica?" "It's Chloe." Her voice was high-pitched and tearful. "I thought about it. I'm keeping the baby. But I'm not staying with Mike. My parents are going to help me. Thank you for telling me the truth today. It hurts like hell, but it's better than living a lie." "Are you sure? Being a single mom is hard." "I know. But it's my choice and my responsibility." She paused. "And there's something else I need to tell you. I think Mike has been embezzling money from his company." "What?" "I'm not 100% sure. But I was using his laptop a few weeks ago and saw weird transfer records. When I asked him, he said it was Project Fund Management, but it looked really sketchy. The name on the account was JM Investment Ltd. It looked like an offshore thing. That matched exactly what Attorney Hayes had found. Thank you for telling me, Chloe. Take care of yourself. You too, Jessica. Goodbye." I immediately called Hayes with the intel. Hayes said this elevated the situation from civil to criminal, and he advised me to be extremely careful, as a cornered Mike might do anything. Instead of going home, I drove to Westchester to see my parents. They were relieved to see me safe. "Mike called earlier, demanding to speak to your father," my mom said worriedly. "Your dad just hung up on him." "Good." I hugged her. Mom, Dad, don't answer any calls from him or unknown numbers. Call 911 if he shows up again. That little punk. My dad slammed his fist on the table. I've still got enough strength left in me to teach him a lesson. Dad, your blood pressure. Calm down. Soothe him. I'm handling it. Just focus on staying healthy. Later that night, sitting in my childhood bedroom, my phone lit up. A text from Mike. Jess, one last time. Let's talk. Tomorrow at 2:00 p.m. Our old spot, you know where. If you don't show up, I'm going to have to resort to extreme measures. Don't push me. Our old spot. A small coffee shop near our college campus. 10 years ago, that was where he first told me he loved me. I hesitated for a few seconds before replying, fine. One last time. At 1:50 p.m. the next day, I arrived at the cafe. It hadn't changed much in a decade. The same worn-out booths, the same photos on the walls. Even the owner was the same, though his hair was graying now. Jessica! The owner recognized me. It's been years. You alone? Waiting for someone? Yes. I smiled, sliding into the corner booth by the window, the exact spot we used to sit. Outside, the autumn leaves were turning golden on the sycamore trees. 10 years ago, in this exact season, Mike had said, Jess, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. The rest of my life turned out to be a very short time. At exactly 2:00 p.m., Mike walked in. He was wearing a sharp gray suit, looking perfectly groomed, like he was heading into a board meeting. He paused when he saw me, then walked over and sat across from me. What did you order? He asked, forcing a cheerful tone. Latte. You got an Americano. The owner came over, glanced at Mike, took the order without a word, and walked away. An awkward silence settled between us. A soft pop song played overhead yesterday once more. How fitting. You look good. Mike broke the silence. So do you, I said honestly. He looked better than I remembered. These 5 years had clearly been good to him. Jess. He paused. Can we talk about this, like rational adults? I've always been rational. I stared him down. You're the one making irrational decisions. He smiled bitterly. I know. I messed up. I made a huge mistake. But nobody's perfect. Can't you give me one chance to make it right? How? By building a time machine? Or by erasing Chloe and her unborn child? His face hardened. You really went to see her? Yes. She deserved the truth. Who gave you the right to ruin my life? He hissed, leaning forward. The legal right of being your wife. The right of being the woman you lied to for 5 years. The right of the woman whose youth you destroyed. My voice trembled slightly, but I held my ground. Mike, I didn't come here for an apology. If apologies fixed everything, we wouldn't need laws. Then what do you want? Money? The house? Name it. It's yours. I want an explanation. I stared directly into his eyes. The truth. Why did you choose to lie instead of just telling me it was over? Why did you make me wait for 5 years? Mike looked away, staring out the window at the falling leaves. When I came back to New York, Chloe was already pregnant. He finally spoke, his voice incredibly quiet. She was young. I wasn't ready to be a dad. I asked her to get an abortion, but she refused. Her dad found out. He threatened to destroy my career and my life if I didn't take responsibility. So I chose to hurt you. I swear I was going to tell you. He looked back at me, tears welling in his eyes. But every time we video called, and I saw how much you missed me, how you were waiting for me, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I told myself I'd wait until the baby was born, get things settled with her, and then explain it to you. When was that going to be? In a year? 2 years? 5 more? I laughed bitterly. And then what? Divorce me and make me the wicked stepmother? Or keep me as your dirty little secret? No, it wasn't like that. He shook his head. The plan was, once the kid was a bit older, I'd break up with Chloe and come back to you. You were always the one I truly loved, Jess. Chloe was just a mistake. A mistake. The word echoed in my head. It was the cruelest thing I had ever heard. A 5-year mistake? A mistake you bought a multi-million-dollar condo with? A mistake you protected over your actual wife? I know I sound like a piece of shit, but it's true. Mike tried to grab my hand. I immediately pulled back. These 5 years have been hell for me too. Feeling guilty toward you, guilty toward Chloe. I was being punished. I thought I could manage both sides until I couldn't. He was crying now. I was actually planning to come clean to her next month and go back to you. Stop. I cut him off. You still don't get it, Mike. The issue isn't who you chose. The issue is that you chose deception. You wanted Chloe's affection, and you wanted my devotion. You were just greedy. Then what was I supposed to do? He suddenly yelled. Customers turned to look. If I abandoned a pregnant Chloe, I'm a monster. If I divorced you, I'm a bastard. I couldn't win. You were supposed to be honest, I said calmly. If you had told me the truth 5 years ago, maybe we could have figured it out. Even if it ended in divorce, at least I wouldn't have spent 5 years waiting like an idiot. Mike fell silent. His shoulders slumped. In an instant, he looked like he had aged 10 years. You're right. I was selfish, he said defeatedly. I was terrified of losing you, and I couldn't handle the pressure from her family. So I took the coward's way out. So what now? I asked. Chloe is taking the baby and leaving you. And I'm divorcing you. What are you going to do? He looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Jess, if I give up everything. My job, the condo, the baby. Will you give me one more chance? I'll quit my firm. We'll leave the city. Start over. Impossible. I shook my head. A broken mirror can't be fixed. And you can't give all that up. I can. If you want, I'll walk away from all of it. No, you won't. I looked at him. Because you've never understood me. If I took back a man who lied to me for 5 years just for love, I wouldn't be me anymore. The coffee arrived. We stirred our cups in silence. The clinking of the spoons felt deafening. Then I'll see you in court, Mike finally said, his voice stripped of all begging, leaving only exhaustion. I'm not giving up my assets easily. I worked hard for this family too. Worked hard? I laughed. Through lies? Or through embezzlement? Think what you want. My lawyer will contact yours. All right. I nodded. We're done here. As I stood to leave, he called out. One more thing. That $50,000. That's mine. The value I brought to the company over 5 years is worth 10 times that. What $50,000? Don't play dumb. The money you had your lawyer dig up from my Cayman Islands account. He sneered. That's my project bonus. It's perfectly legal. His face froze the second the words left his mouth. I had guessed right. I sat back down. Mike, you didn't just lie to me. You lied to your company, didn't you? Embezzling project funds, setting up offshore shell companies. Do you have any idea how much prison time that carries? No. It was a legitimate investment. The SEC and the NYPD will be the judge of that. I stood up. Oh, I forgot to mention. I sent an anonymous tip to the NYPD Financial Crimes Task Force. Whether they investigate or not is out of my hands. Mike's face went white, then blue, then a sickly gray. You called the cops? I just provided some evidence, I corrected him. Like you said, if it's legal, the experts will figure it out. Jessica, are you really going to go this far? He gritted his teeth. I leaned in close, keeping my voice low. Mike, during the last 5 years, when I woke up sick in the middle of the night with no one to take care of me, when I watched other couples and felt cripplingly alone, which one of us went too far? He opened his mouth but made no sound. The court summons is coming. Look out for it. I pulled 2 $50 bills from my wallet and dropped them on the table. Coffee is on me. A parting gift for our 10 years. I walked out. My hands were shaking. But my steps were resolute. Outside, the sun was blinding. I shielded my eyes, taking a deep breath. Jess! Mike ran out, grabbing my arm. His eyes were bloodshot. If I go to prison, will that make you happy? No, I answered honestly. But I won't shed a tear for you either. Adults have to pay for their choices. I regret it so much, he sobbed. I regret coming back. I regret meeting Chloe. The only thing you should regret is choosing to lie. I pulled my arm away. Goodbye, Mike. Actually, let's never see each other again. I got into my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Mike stood frozen in front of the cafe, shrinking until he was just a speck. 2 blocks later, I pulled over, rested my head on the steering wheel, and sobbed. Not for him, for myself, for the naive girl who believed that if you just kept a promise and waited, you'd be rewarded. I cried until I had nothing left. Then, I wiped my eyes, touched up my makeup, and called Attorney Hayes. Mike is highly likely involved in corporate embezzlement. I tipped off his company and the police. Expedite the divorce. I want it done before he's indicted. Understood. We have a court date set for next Wednesday. The judge granted the emergency injunction. All your joint accounts and his personal assets are frozen. What about the Tribeca apartment? That's co-owned by Chloe, so it's harder to freeze entirely. But we filed a claim on the $1 million down payment, arguing it contains marital assets. Good. Do not yield a single cent. Hanging up, I leaned back, an overwhelming exhaustion washing over me. My phone buzzed. Sarah. How'd it go? Said everything I needed to say. I summarized the conversation. Are you okay? You sound dead. I'm fine. Just feel empty. Of course you do. 10 years doesn't just disappear overnight. Let me come over. No, I want to be alone tonight. Let's get dinner tomorrow, all right? Remember, I'm always on your side. I drove aimlessly, eventually pulling up to my old apartment in Hoboken. I had redecorated the place after Mike left, turning his office into a home gym and his closet into a study, thinking it would erase his ghost. But some memories stick. I turned on some old jazz records and started deep cleaning the apartment. Scrubbing floors and throwing away expired food kept my mind occupied. In the study, on the top shelf, I found an old tin box. It held movie stubs, train tickets, and little trinkets from when we first started dating. I hadn't opened it in 5 years. Inside was a photo album, pictures of a younger us, smiling like idiots on campus, at the beach, in the mountains. We were so young, eyes full of light, believing the future was infinite. The last page was a solo picture of me at the airport the day he left. I was forcing a smile, but my eyes were watery. On the back he had written, "Wait for me. When I return, we'll never be apart again." Never turned out to be very short. I closed the album, put it back in the tin, walked downstairs, and threw the entire box into the apartment dumpster. What needs to be thrown away must be thrown away. Holding on to it only infects the wound. Back upstairs, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Jessica Parker? Yes. This is Detective King with the NYPD Financial Crimes Task Force. Regarding the anonymous tip you submitted concerning Mike Davis's embezzlement allegations, we have a few questions. Could you come down to the precinct? The precinct was a bleak, gray building in Lower Manhattan. I parked, took a deep breath, and walked in. I was met by 2 detectives. Detective King was a stern man in his 40s. His partner was younger, with a softer demeanor. Have a seat, Miss Parker. King handed me a water bottle. Thank you for cooperating. We'd like to hear specifics on your allegations. I told them everything. Finding out he returned 5 years ago, investigating the Tribeca down payment, and discovering the $50,000 Cayman Islands wire transfer. I handed over a thick binder of evidence. Bank logs, property records, and P.I. Smith's reports. You and Mr. Davis are still legally married? King asked. Yes, but the divorce hearing is next Wednesday. You stated you were effectively separated for 5 years without knowing it? The younger detective asked. Shocked. Yes. He faked being in Africa. I explained the elaborate deception. King took notes. So you had zero knowledge of his actual career or finances over the last 5 years? None. How did you obtain these offshore account records? Through a licensed private investigator, I said honestly. Everything was obtained legally. The PI can corroborate if needed. That won't be necessary just yet. King closed his notebook. Based on our preliminary look at your tip, we found multiple red flags. We are formally opening a criminal investigation. We may need you to testify down the line. Whatever you need. One word of warning, King's expression darkened. If Mr. Davis is facing serious felony charges, a cornered man might do something desperate. Keep your guard up. Call us immediately if anything feels off. It was pitch black by the time I left the precinct. The autumn wind bit through my coat. I quickly got into my car and texted Attorney Hayes. Met with NYPD. The divorce needs to be finalized immediately. Hayes replied, the judge has expedited the docket. We will likely get a summary judgment next Wednesday. Also, Chloe's father called me today. He's demanding his $500,000 equity back from the Tribeca condo. He's threatening to sue Mike for fraud. It's going to get messy. Let them fight it out, I replied. Just protect my share. Driving past the Pinnacle in Tribeca, I instinctively slowed down. Out front, a heated argument was taking place. It was Robert Bennett, Chloe's father, screaming at the doorman. A few minutes later, Mike's Tesla pulled up. Robert immediately blocked the car. I pulled over half a block away and watched. Mike rolled down his window. Robert was screaming, pounding on the hood of the car. Mike got out, trying to calm him down, but Robert shoved him hard. The doorman intervened, and a small crowd formed. Finally, Mike said something that made Robert back off slightly. They moved to the sidewalk to talk. 10 minutes later, Robert stormed off, leaving Mike standing there rubbing his temples, looking utterly defeated. I drove away quietly. The storm of lies was finally sweeping up everyone involved. When I got back to Hoboken, it was late. Parking my car, I walked toward the building entrance. Suddenly, I felt a chill. The hallway lights were dead. It was pitch black. I turned on my phone flashlight and walked up the stairs. My footsteps echoed, making my heart race. Passing the second floor, I heard a faint noise behind me. I spun around, shining the light, but saw nothing. Just paranoia. I hurried to the third floor. As I put my key in the door, I froze. A faint light was bleeding from under the door frame. I had definitely turned all the lights off. My heart pounded against my ribs. I backed up slowly, hand reaching into my purse for pepper spray. The door opened from the inside. Jess. You're home. Mike stood in the doorway. In the dim light, his face looked ghostly pale. How did you get in? I demanded. Ready to run. I have a key, remember? He smiled weakly. Our house. I kept the key. This isn't your house anymore. Get out, or I'm calling the cops. Do it. He was bizarrely calm. I have nothing left to lose anyway. Chloe took her stuff and went to her parents. Her dad is threatening to sue me for wire fraud if I don't pay him back. Henderson suspended me pending a forensic audit. The NYPD is freezing my accounts. I've got nothing, Jess. His voice carried a desperate, eerie tranquility that terrified me more than anger. You brought this on yourself. I kept my voice steady. Now get out of my house. Our house. He corrected. Legally. Still ours. Not for long. Yeah, not for long. He sighed and took a step toward me. I immediately backed up, but he was faster. He grabbed my wrist. Let go of me. 5 minutes, Jess. Just give me 5 minutes. His grip was tight, but his eyes were begging. After I say my piece, I'll leave. You'll never see me again. I stopped fighting, keeping my hand gripped tightly around the pepper spray in my bag. I'm going to turn myself in. I'll pay back whatever I took, Mike said softly. But before I do, I have a favor to ask you. What favor? If I go to prison, please don't tell my parents. Their health is failing. They wouldn't survive it. Just tell them my overseas project got extended. I stared at him, feeling a wave of pity. Even at rock bottom, he was obsessed with maintaining his facade. And Chloe's baby, if he's born, could you check on him sometimes? He doesn't deserve this. I don't want him growing up with a father in prison, or no father at all. Why the hell would I look after your bastard child with another woman? Because, his voice broke. Because we loved each other for 10 years. And because I know you have the kindest heart in the world. You're wrong, I said icily. You hardened my heart. I won't look after your kid, and I won't cover for your lies. Adults have to face the consequences of their actions, Mike. All of them. He looked at me, the last flicker of light in his eyes dying out. You really have changed. Like I said, you made me this way. Yeah, I did. He let go of my wrist, smiling a broken smile. I'm sorry, Jess. I'm sorry for the 10 years. I'm sorry for the 5 years. I'm sorry for everything. He turned and walked slowly down the dark stairwell. Just before turning the corner, he looked back. You threw the photo album away, didn't you? I hesitated, realizing he meant the tin box. Yes. Good. He nodded. You should have. And then he was gone. His footsteps faded into silence. I stood by the door for a long time, making sure he was truly gone, before rushing inside, locking the deadbolt, and checking every room. It was clear, but on the living room coffee table sat 2 items: a spare apartment key and a debit card. Underneath was a scrawled note. The pin is your birthday. There's $80,000 in there. It's the last thing I can give you. I'm sorry. I stared at the card, feeling a complex knot in my stomach. Was this compensation? Atonement? Or just him trying to buy peace of mind? My phone rang. It was Sarah. Jess, are you okay? Mike just called me acting like a lunatic, asking me to take care of you if anything happens to him. He was just here. He left. I explained the situation. You need to call the cops. That's breaking and entering. It's fine. He's not coming back. How do you know? If he's cornered, he might do something crazy. He won't. I didn't know why I was so sure, but Mike loved himself too much to do anything extreme. Tonight felt more like a farewell tour. I hung up and put the debit card in a drawer. This money wasn't mine to spend, but I wouldn't let Mike have it either. Maybe there was a better use for it. The next day, Attorney Hayes called. Mike's lawyer had reached out. Mike had agreed to every single term I proposed for the divorce and asset division. His only request was to finalize it immediately. What about the police? I asked. He hasn't been formally indicted yet, Hayes said. But we don't have much time. If he's arrested, the divorce gets stalled. The judge agreed to expedite. We'll have a final decree in 3 days. That afternoon, I met with Chloe. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, but her gaze was resolute. I made my decision. I'm having the baby, and I'm raising him alone. My parents are going to help me. She rubbed her stomach. I'm done with Mike. Did he come see you? Yesterday. He left an envelope of cash, said it was child support. Chloe smiled bitterly. I didn't take it. I don't want my kid knowing his life started with dirty money. What's your plan? I'm leaving the city, moving upstate with my parents. Start fresh. She looked at me. Jessica, this might sound weird, but I really respect you. You're strong, decisive, and you know what you want. I hope I can be like you someday. You will be, I said genuinely. Take care of yourself. As I was leaving, Chloe called out, Jessica, one more thing. I think Mike has severe clinical depression. When I was packing his things last night, I found hidden prescription antidepressants. Looks like he's been taking them for over a year. I froze. Since when? The date on the bottle was from last year. I know I have no right to defend him, but if you have the chance, maybe tell him to seek actual psychiatric help? Regardless of what he did, I understand. Thank you. Leaving Chloe's place, my heart felt heavy. Depression? Mike, who had always been so confident and composed. Suddenly, his eerie calmness last night, his dead eyes, his farewell tour, it took on a terrifying new context. It wasn't just him giving up, it was an illness. I tried calling him. It rang out. I tried again. Sent straight to voicemail. I called Attorney Hayes. Can you reach Mike? It's an emergency. I was just about to call you. We've lost contact with him. He didn't show up to work today, and his lawyer hasn't heard from him. The NYPD is actively looking for him, suspecting he might be preparing to flee the country. Flee the country? No, he's not fleeing. A horrifying thought pierced my mind. Last night's words, the debit card, the depression, the life insurance. Mr. Hayes, can you check that new life insurance policy he took out? The large one? Why? Let me pull the file. I heard shuffling papers. Yes, a $500,000 policy taken out 3 months ago. The beneficiary was Chloe Bennett, but she signed a waiver releasing her claim during their breakup. Is there another policy? More shuffling. Hayes's voice went dead serious. Yes. A new policy enacted 2 weeks ago. $500,000. The sole beneficiary is you, Jessica. My blood ran ice cold. Mr. Hayes, where is he? The NYPD pinged his cell phone. It's stationary near an abandoned pier complex on the Hudson River, up near Washington Heights. Police are en route, but they advised family to stay away. Text me the address, I screamed, grabbing my car keys. Jessica, it's too dangerous. Let the police handle it. Just send the damn address. The text came through. I bolted for the elevator. Every second felt like an eternity. Mike's dead eyes, his calmness, the insurance policy. It all painted a picture I didn't want to see. No, Mike wouldn't do this. He loves himself too much. But last night, that wasn't the Mike I knew. I sped up the West Side Highway, weaving through rush hour traffic, leaning on the horn. My phone rang. It was Detective King. Miss Parker, we located Mr. Davis's vehicle near the abandoned Hudson Piers. His phone and wallet are inside, but he's missing. We're widening the search. Do you know where he might go? The old observation deck, I remembered. When we were in college, whenever he was stressed, he'd go to this abandoned observation deck overlooking the river just north of the George Washington Bridge. No one ever goes up there. Copy that. Sending units. Do not approach alone, Miss Parker. I hung up, exited the highway, and tore down a dirt access road. As night fell, the George Washington Bridge lit up the sky. Up ahead, police cruisers were parked near the rusted, condemned observation deck. Red and blue lights flashed against the encroaching dark. I slammed the car into park and ran. A young uniform tried to stop me. Ma'am, active police situation. I'm his wife. Let me through. Detective King jogged over, looking grim. I told you to stay back. Did you find him? King hesitated, then nodded. He's up there. But it's bad. He's standing on the wrong side of the railing. We can't get close. A 10-story drop straight into the churning, freezing currents of the Hudson. Let me talk to him, I demanded. We have a trained hostage negotiator en route. He won't listen to a cop. I know him. I grabbed King's arm. Please. King stared at me, then nodded. Put this vest on. We'll be right behind you with a tactical team. I put the heavy Kevlar vest over my coat and followed King up the rusted metal stairs. The wind howling off the river was deafening. At the edge of the platform, a figure stood with his back to us, balancing on a 6-inch concrete ledge outside the guardrail. Mike! Mike Davis! King shouted over the wind. Your wife is here! She wants to talk to you. Mike didn't turn around, but I saw his shoulders flinch. Mike! I yelled, stepping closer. It's me! Slowly, he turned his head. In the dim light of the bridge, his face was a pale ghost. You shouldn't have come, Jess. His voice carried on the wind, horrifyingly calm. I came to take you home. Let's go. Home? He let out a hollow laugh. I don't have a home. Chloe's gone, you're leaving me, my parents are in Canada. I have nothing left. I'm a complete failure. You have yourself. I took a step forward. Behind me, the cops signaled me to stop. Myself? He shook his head. I hate myself the most. I lied to you for 5 years. I ruined Chloe's life. I lost my job, and I'm probably going to prison. What's the point of me existing? You're sick? Mike! Depression is a sickness. It can be treated. I'll go to the hospital with you. It's too late, Jess. I've gone too far. There's no going back. You can always go back. I tried to keep the panic out of my voice. Chloe is having the baby. That kid needs a father. I will never forgive you. But I don't want you to die like this. The baby, he whispered. That kid never should have been born. Having a father like me is the worst thing that could happen to him. Then change. Be a better man for him. Make up for what you've done. Mike fell silent. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. The wind whipped my hair across my face. The Hudson roared below us. Do you remember this place, Jess? He asked suddenly. Our first real date. You were wearing that white sundress. You said you wanted to see the ocean, and I promised I'd take you. I made so many promises, and I broke every single one. We can still go. We can go see the ocean right now. Come here. I took another cautious step. No. I don't deserve it. He turned his body fully toward the river. I'm sorry, Jess. Truly. If there's a next life, there is no next life. I screamed, tears finally breaking free. Mike, if you jump, I will never forgive you. I will hate you to my core for the rest of my life. You owe me 5 years. How are you going to pay me back by dying? He flinched. Dying is the coward's way out, I yelled. I am a coward, he screamed back, his voice finally breaking with raw emotion. I couldn't face you. I couldn't face Chloe. All I do is lie and run away. What good am I alive? Then stop running. Face what you've done. I took another step, now only 10 feet away. Face the courts. Face Chloe. Face my parents. Face me. Take your punishment, get treated, and start over. He looked at me. His eyes were a chaotic storm of guilt, despair, and a tiny, fragile spark of hesitation. Suddenly, the rusted concrete under his left foot gave way with a loud crack. Mike's arms flailed as he lost his balance, falling backward into the abyss. No! I lunged forward, reaching through the railing. My fingers brushed his jacket sleeve, but I couldn't grip it. He vanished into the dark, followed seconds later by a sickening splash. My mind went completely blank. Diver team, go! King roared into his radio. Police and FDNY crews rushed the platform, spotlights cutting through the dark water. Marine units were already speeding toward the splash zone. I collapsed against the rusted railing, staring down at the churning black river, shaking violently. No. He can't die. You can't die. Misso, Parker, come with me. A female officer gently pulled me away from the edge. Marine unit is on it. We'll find him. How do you survive a 100-foot drop into a freezing river in the dead of night? I stood on the muddy riverbank watching the search boats crisscross the water. Every second dragged like hours. We got him. A voice cracked over a police radio. Sector 3. He's responsive. Responsive. My knees buckled, and I nearly hit the mud. Ambulance sirens wailed as paramedics rushed a stretcher to the docks. The police boat pulled up, and they dragged Mike onto the pier. He was soaked, shivering violently, and semi-conscious. But he was breathing. They loaded him into the back of an ambulance. I tried to follow, but an officer stopped me. You can meet him at the hospital, ma'am. We'll need a full statement from you later. I followed the ambulance to New York Presbyterian. Sitting in the sterile waiting room, Sarah and Attorney Hayes arrived shortly after. Sarah threw her arms around me. Oh my God, Jess. The cops told me you almost went over the rail with him. I'm fine. He's going to be fine. I muttered, staring at the floor. Attorney Hayes sat next to me, lowering his voice. The police preliminary report rules it an accidental fall, not a finalized suicide attempt. The ledge crumbled. And Jessica. The diver said that right before he hit the water, he tried to twist his body to dive, rather than fall flat. In the final second, he wanted to live. That fact brought me a bizarre sense of comfort. An hour later, the ER doctor emerged. Family of Mike Davis? I'm his wife. I stood up. He's stable. Core temperature is back to normal. Mild concussion from the impact. So we're keeping him for observation. However, he's extremely emotionally volatile. We've requested a psychiatric consult. He's under a mandatory 7-2-hour psychiatric hold. He's suffering from clinical depression, I told the doctor. We suspected as much. You can go in, but please, keep the conversation light. I walked into the ER bay. Mike was lying on a gurney, hooked up to IVs, looking impossibly small. When he saw me, he turned his head away. Jess, I'm sorry. Don't talk. Just rest. I didn't do it on purpose. The ledge broke. His voice was barely a whisper. But when I was up there, I really wanted to jump. But then you yelled. And when I started falling, I was so scared, Jess. I was terrified of dying. Being scared of dying is a good thing. I sat in the chair next to his bed. It means you still want to live. Do I even deserve to? That's not for you to decide. I looked at him. Living is a right, not a reward. If you survived that fall, it means your story isn't over yet. He looked at me, a single tear rolling down his cheek. What do I do now, Jess? I don't know what to do. You get better, mind and body. Then you face your reality. The legal charges, Chloe. My parents. Take it one step at a time. Will you be there with me? I fell silent. I didn't know how to answer. Right. He smiled a broken, sad smile. I shouldn't have asked. Go home, Jess. Thank you for saving me today. But don't worry about me anymore. I'll make sure you get the right doctors, and I'll help sort out the immediate paperwork, I said honestly. But that's it. Mike, our marriage is over. That hasn't changed. He closed his eyes. I know. Leaving the hospital, it was past 3:00 a.m. Sarah drove me home. We were silent the whole way. Pulling up to my building, she finally spoke. Are you really going to help him? I don't know, I sighed. But seeing him like that, I can't hate him anymore. I just feel pity. You're too soft. Maybe. I smiled bitterly. But I'm not going back to him. That's a hard boundary. Helping him now is just honoring the 10 years we had and not watching a human being destroy himself completely. What about Chloe and the baby? That's his responsibility. I'll tell her what happened, but the rest is on them. That night, I couldn't sleep. Standing on my balcony, looking at the Manhattan skyline, the events of the day replayed in my mind. Brushing so close to death made everything else seem trivial. Hate took too much energy, and I was exhausted. My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. I heard about the accident. Is he okay? I replied. He's in the hospital. He'll live, but he's under a psychiatric hold. He needs intense therapy. You can visit him if you want, but brace yourself. He's in bad shape. Understood. Thank you for telling me. And thank you for saving him. I hate him for what he did, but I didn't want him dead. Me neither, I typed back. I put the phone down and looked at the sky. There were no stars, just the ambient orange glow of the city. Mike survived, but the road ahead for everyone would be excruciating. He had to face the law, his mental health, and the crushing guilt of the lives he ruined. 3 months later, late November, I stood on the steps of the New York State Supreme Court building, holding my final divorce decree. The judge had granted everything I asked for. I kept the majority of the liquid marital assets, my car, and my retirement accounts. The Tribeca condo was ruled outside my marital estate, leaving Mike and Chloe to fight over the equity with her father. The sky was a slate gray, spitting a freezing drizzle. I didn't open my umbrella, letting the cold rain hit my face. Jessica, Attorney Hayes walked out, handing me his umbrella. It's officially over. Yes, it's over. I took the umbrella but didn't open it. Mike's criminal trial for the embezzlement is next month. The evidence is airtight. He's looking at 3 to 5 years. His public defender is pushing for probation, but it's a long shot. Hayes paused. Though his official clinical depression diagnosis might buy him some leniency with the judge. How is he doing these days? He's cooperating with his outpatient treatment and seems emotionally stable. I heard Chloe brings the baby to see him occasionally. Chloe had given birth a month ago. A boy named Ethan. He didn't take Mike's last name, but she allowed visitation. It was the absolute maximum amount of grace she could offer. Will you attend his trial? Hayes asked. I shook my head. No. One goodbye is enough. Understood. What are your plans now? I'm going to travel. For years, I just worked and waited for one man. I haven't really seen the world. Good for you. Call me if you ever need anything. I walked to my car. The rain was picking up. My phone buzzed. Sarah. It's done? It's done. Celebration dinner tonight. And we're inviting James Miller. You still haven't properly thanked him for kicking this whole thing off. You're right. Usual spot, James Miller. If I hadn't run into him in that elevator, I might still be waiting like a fool. He had helped tremendously, connecting me with P.I. Smith and offering to testify if needed. I owed him a massive debt of gratitude. At dinner, Sarah, James, and I toasted. To the Statue of Liberty. Sarah clinked my glass. Don't tease me, I laughed, turning to James. Seriously, James. Thank you. Don't mention it, James blushed slightly. Honestly, I regretted telling you at first. I was scared I ruined your life. But seeing you now, I know I did the right thing. You did. The ugliest truth is always better than a beautiful lie. We talked about our futures. James was transferring to a project in London for a change of pace. Sarah was up for a partner track at her firm but was weighing the work-life balance. What about you, Jess? Sarah asked. Maine first, then maybe a road trip down to the Keys. After that, Europe. Solo? Solo. I need to figure out who I am again. Before I left New York, I handled one final piece of business. I took the debit card Mike had left in my apartment with the $80,000 and had a lawyer set up a blind educational trust fund for Ethan Bennett. Why are you doing that? Sarah asked, baffled. That's your restitution money. I don't need his restitution, but that kid might need it. I looked out at the city streets. It's my way of putting a period at the end of this 10-year sentence. The next morning, I arrived at JFK with a single suitcase. As I waited to board my flight to Portland, I called my parents. Have a safe trip, sweetie. Call us. My mom's voice trembled slightly. I will, Mom. Stay healthy. I'll visit as soon as I'm back. I hung up and powered down my phone. The plane rocketed down the runway, ascending into the clouds. The city where I had spent my entire adult life shrank into a grid of tiny gray blocks before disappearing entirely. Goodbye, my past. Goodbye, Mike. Autumn in Maine was breathtaking. The sky was violently blue, the air crisp. I stayed at a small coastal cabin, hiking Acadia National Park, eating lobster, and sleeping in. After 2 weeks, I drove south, driving the entire East Coast down to Key West, meeting people, hearing their stories, and sharing mine. 2 months later, I returned to New York. It felt simultaneously foreign and intimately familiar. I got a text from Sarah. Mike's sentencing was today. 3 years probation, heavily fined, and mandatory restitution. He didn't appeal. Chloe brought the baby to the courthouse. I heard he cried when he saw them. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Got it. Hope the kid grows up healthy. Where are you? When are you coming back? I'm back. Let's get drinks this weekend. I put my phone away and walked up to the rooftop of my temporary Airbnb in Brooklyn. The Manhattan skyline glittered across the East River. Years ago, Mike and I had looked at this same skyline from the other side, and he had told me that every light in the city was a wish, and his wish was to grow old with me. The lights were still there, but that wish was dead. And that was okay, because now...
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding. Slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile. Every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay. I'm freezing, I'm bleeding, slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile, every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay.